In Part 1, we moved data from an Excel spreadsheet work schedule over into C.R.I.S, creating a new shift pattern template. In Part 2, we'll go through the process of applying that template to a client's site to generate new work schedules. An important thing to establish is what date the schedule starts and ends. What is the first day of the 28-day rotation? In our case, we'll assume the schedule starts on January 21st and runs for the duration of the calendar year. Also important to note are the types of shifts in the schedule. Shift type 1 is D1 8.5, the site manager, who works 8.5 hours from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Shift type 2 is D12, a 12-hour day shift for workers running from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Shift type 3 is N12, a 12-hour night shift for workers running from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Based on this information, we'll now set up the contract in C.R.I.S. Here we've started to set up some basic contract information. You can access contacts by clicking Clients on the left-hand menu and then Contacts in the top tab. We've filled in the contract info, including adding pay rates. SL3 is the pay for supervisor or site manager, and CML3 is the pay rate for all 4 shift workers. C.R.I.S does allow each team to have a different pay rate, but in our scenario there are only 2 pay rates. Now we can click the Add Schedule button and select multiple rotating shifts. Then we must identify our starting date and end date for the schedule. We want our starting date to be January 21st, so unlock the date here and select January 21st. Then select an end date of December 31st. There you can see our correct start date and end date. Now we must select the correct shift pattern. That's the template we created in Part 1 called 24/7, 5-team, 12 hours. We'll give our schedule the title Ferry Terminal, and the site is Ferry Dock. Number of people in the team is 1 person. Click Next. Here you must enter codes and times for the different shift types. Shift 1 is D1 8.5, the site manager. Let's refer to the Excel spreadsheet to confirm the site manager's times. He works 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Shift 2 was our 12-hour day shift, D12. The hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Shift 3 was our 12-hour night shift, N12, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Next, team members. Each worker corresponds to a team. You must select the correct name and pay rate for each team member. For example, Team 1 is the supervisor or the site manager. He gets an SL3 pay rate. Continue on for each team member. Notice that as you assign each worker a pay rate, their name becomes inactive or grayed out in the drop-down list. Once you have all your team members assigned, double-check that all your information is correct. You have your start date, January 21st, and end date, December 31st. You've entered all your shift codes and times, as well as all your team members and their pay rates. Finally, click Save. The system then goes out and generates the shift pattern based on that set of data. Once complete, click Scheduling on the left menu and then go into the Payroll tab. Select the appropriate time period, in this case January 28th, and select Ferry's Ferry Dock. There we see the generated work schedule. If you wish to view the schedule a week earlier or later, simply select the correct time period from the drop-down list. This concludes our video tutorial on how to set up a shift pattern and create a schedule for a client site in C.R.I.S.